Well, let me introduce to you now the research project that you should be working on for week 1 and week 2 here in Edit 2310 on the website on Blackboard. If you'll come down to Content, select that, then you'll see that we have 2 folders up here already, and really both of them contain the same thing right now, except for the links for submitting your assignments. So I'll start with week 1. And here you'll see the discussion that I had with you in class on our first session, where that we're looking at the digital educational landscape. And really there are 3 big providers for educational materials, or at least the platforms for delivering these educational materials. And that's Apple, of course, and then Google and Microsoft. The lesson goals or the learning goals for this assignment are, I want you to understand the universe of applications and services that are provided by Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Now, the best way to understand this, what I call the universe of applications, in other words, what do they offer? You come down into the links, and down here, I've created links where it says other online resources. Then this is the Microsoft Education Center. If you click it, then it'll take you to what Microsoft offers as far as their products. And the same with, there's 2 here for Microsoft. Microsoft in Education. And then we have Apple in Education. What do they offer? And then, of course, Google in Education. Now, whenever we look at these things, your focus, of course, is going to be on the area that you are going to be teaching. So if you're going to be an elementary ed teacher, then see what you can find that relates to this. Because I believe here in Apple, I saw this, K through 12, and then higher education, college students. So try to look for these applications that are specific to the area that you're going to teach. But I'm not just asking you to look at the applications themselves. I want you to sort of look at this from this 30,000-foot view where that you're looking down on this. And you can sort of take an overall look at this, and rather than trying to itemize all of the products that they sell, what we're really focused in here is to learn, as it says up here in the learning goals. We're not only going to understand the universe of applications, but we also want to find out how these companies make their money. How do they make money through their educational products and services? So one of them, for instance, Google, may say that we offer our educational products free of charge, and that may be true. But how do they make money with this? Because it's really hard for people to just give away products and services. Internet resources are expensive. And so how does Google make money? And that's what you're going to be looking for. And so the kinds of products that they offer, and if you can be thinking critically as you go through here, you might even think to yourself, like, what kind of products do they not offer? Or why don't they offer something else, for instance? Now, as you're doing searches, you're going to be searching through the search engines. And as you search in the search engines, I want you just to be alert to any sort of bias. What kind of bias do you see there in those search engines? Now, this is not the main idea of the research paper, but I give you an example down here. What I do is tell you to use a variation of terms such as compare and contrast Microsoft, Apple, Google, education. You could use that string to search with in Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo. And then as you do that, try to notice whether or not you see any bias. And if you do see that the search engines are biased, then that's something that you need to note in your research paper. You can just say that I was searching on this and I noticed that Google always returns Google-only products or vice versa, Microsoft or whatever. But when I use DuckDuckGo, just notice whether or not you see any biased results coming to the surface. Are they trying to be fair? Now, so we're looking at the search engines, and we're going to be conducting research using scholarly search engines. So the search engines that you see listed here first, Google, Bing, and DuckDuckGo, those are general public search engines. They're not really targeted towards anything. But if you come right down below there, you'll see Google Scholar, Academic Microsoft. There's a search engine called ResearchSite. And then obviously in the WBU online library, there are some very specific education-oriented databases, and you can search there. And these will return for you things like journal articles, actual research, maybe even doctoral dissertations that are being done about this subject. Just spend some time searching for them. Now, what I intended this to be was I intended that we would spend just the first week building our reference list. And I've heard from some of you, and I know that you've had a hard time really understanding exactly what to do. And so I'm going to extend the deadline by a week for both of these and give you more time to do this research. And then the paper itself will be due then a week beyond that. The one thing we haven't talked up here right now is in this thing about the business models and how do they make money. I want you to critically assess these products and services as they relate to education, ease of use, security or privacy issues that might endanger students. For example, if a student using Google Classroom were using his Google Classroom email, that is Gmail. And so what happens if a student goes beyond the Google Classroom with his email and visits sites that might endanger his privacy or sites that might be inappropriate for him? Are there any security blocks? Does Google offer anything to protect students? Or is it perfectly safe? And that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for the universe of applications that are out there and see what you can find through the general search engines, see what you can find through the scholarly search engines, find out how those companies profit from the products and services that they are providing, and then do some critical assessment about the ease of use and these security privacy issues. Ease of use is going to be one of the really big ones because I think a lot of teachers prefer Google Classroom because it's easier to use. And I'll grant that. I'm a Microsoft-oriented person. I like to use the Microsoft products. But at the same time, I have to admit that Microsoft builds its products in such a way that they're going to be useful in business. And they don't really offer a version, a reduced version of their products like Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Class Notebook and Microsoft OneNote. There's really not something that sort of, I hate to say it this way, but sort of dumbed down for teachers and students. It's the approach of Microsoft pretty much is that this product that we offer is good for businesses and education. Well, is that so? And so see what you can find in your research. Just spend time. This is going to take time. And I'm doing this research paper right up front so we can get this thing out of the way. But I want you to spend time and understand what Google, Apple, and Microsoft, what do they offer? How do they make money from it? Is it good? Is it bad? What are they leaving out? Maybe what could they include? How are they dealing with privacy of students or things that might endanger students? Just things like that. And then all of your information here for the places to search like Google, Bing, and DuckDuckGo, and Google Scholar, and all of these are the vendors' websites, Microsoft, Apple, and Google, where that they say what their products and services are, and where they say how come their product is better than anybody else's. So get started on this and build a reference link and reference list. And as you're doing that, let me just give you a pointer here. We'll just start with a blank document in Microsoft Word and click on References. Make sure that the style is set to APA. And then as you find resources that you will use. Now, you're not going to just throw in everything that you touch. Don't throw in things that you're not going to use. I want this to be like a works-cited paper and not just a general bibliography of everything that's out there on the planet Earth. But this is the Source Manager, and here you will click on New, and then you'll choose whether you have found a book section, journal article, and so on, all the way down through documents from websites, electronic source. Keep going. There's all kinds of things that you can find out there. So select what type of source it is and just fill in the information, the author. And by the way, you don't have to worry about putting the author in wrong if you'll just use the edit right here and select that. And then it tells you a last name, first name, middle, and then you will add it. And if there's more than one author, you just add the second. If there's a third author, you just add the third. And all of those names will be listed here. And then when you click OK, then the names will all be listed here on this field by author, the way that the APA standard says that they're supposed to be listed. A corporate author is a document that's written by a corporation. So if you found a brochure or a document, some advertisement or whatever that was developed by Google or Apple or Microsoft, then that would be a corporate author. And you could just put Apple Corporation or something like that. The title, the year, the city, the publisher. If you don't see everything that you need here for title, year, city, then you'll click here where it says Show All Bibliographical Fields, and you click that, and it shows everything that can be included in a citation or a bibliography. So at the end of your paper, you're going to have a Works Cited section, and then in the body of your paper, whenever you cite some source for information that you've taken from that source, then you'll cite it in line, and then, of course, have that bibliography at the back. But if you'll fill all this stuff out and make sure that you're including everything like pages and edition and year accessed and URL. If it's a website, we need the URL that takes us to that website. And if you fill all this out, then as you go through your paper, then you don't have to worry about formatting it according to APA. The document itself will be formatted according to APA. You can even begin by clicking on File and then New, and then type in here an APA template. And then here are pre-built papers, not obviously not the content, but the margins and everything are all in here. So just select one of these and click Create, and it's going to open up by giving you a title page, and below that tells you about an abstract. You don't really need an abstract in a 3-page paper, so you can skip that part. But here, showing you how to do headings, if you have any headings, and just how to do everything. It's all there, and the margins are correct and everything. And then when you get to the end, you'll have a references page. And here, if you click on references up here and under bibliography, then it doesn't have to be a bibliography. It can be this link here, which is called Works Cited. And that will make sure that the citations that you've made in your paper are only the citations that are included in the bibliography. That'll keep you from putting things in a bibliography that you really didn't cite. Okay, I hope this helps. Try to get this wrapped up by next Monday, and that's going, well, next Monday we won't meet because that's Labor Day. But the next class session, which will be the Monday after Labor Day, is when I'd like to see all of these references finished so I can review them and make sure that you're covering all the bases. I don't want you to hurt yourself on the paper by leaving something out that maybe you should include. So I want to look at your references so I can make sure that you're touching all the points that you need to be touching. Okay, and then I will do another video to give you more explanation about these things, but just stay tuned, watch your email, watch for the videos, and I'll try to get this stuff out to you so that nobody gets behind.